Hello guys, welcome back to another tutorial. Hit the bell icon button so that you don't miss out any tutorial.
In this section, we're going to get introduced to Django apps. So these are basically like mini websites that sit inside of your main website, and they're called apps. And there's different things you can do with them. They kind of have an isolation unto themselves inside of the main site. And you can create more than one if you want. So we're going to see how that works and how it benefits our site as well. I'm going to go over our next project. So this is going to be number 2, and this is the site that we're going to create. So here's what's involved. We have a similar kind of site. So we've got a home page, and we have a link here to blogs, and then we've got this dynamic footer, which is going to show the current date. So what this site does, the big part of it, is when you click blogs, you actually go over here to this application, and now I'm in posts. So this is really like a regular blog where you'll have different posts. So we'll have a listing of the various posts. There's only the one here on this page. And when you click, you go to the page with the posts. So here you can see some different posts, text, and at the bottom, we also have comments. So you can click a comment and you can see whatever somebody typed in. And if someone wants to leave a comment, I'm going to do John Doe. This is a comment from John Doe. Send. Now I have 2 comments and I can see them. So we're going to get into some form posting with this. And then of course we can go back to the home page. And so that's how the website's going to work. So the big parts of this is that we're going to have a new app inside of our website, which is going to contain the blogs. And we're also going to allow posting comments onto those blogs. So let's go ahead and start creating our new project. I'm going to go into Terminal, and what I want to do is create the project. So I'm going to have Django admin start project, and I'm just going to do my site ls. And there we go. So I have the one folder right now. Now to create the blog app, I'm going to go into my site ls. And what I'm going to do here is create this app by running the command python manage py start app, and I'll call it blog ls. So now you can see we have our blog. So I'm going to go ahead now and open up Visual Studio Code, and we'll get a look at the folder structure and go ahead and start building out this site. So I'm going to do code space dot. So you can see here we have our website, we have our app, and they have similar kinds of files. I'm just going to go ahead now and expand everything out a little. All right, so our application, we have a migrations folder. So for any kind of database migrations we want to do, we have our admin here inside of the app, and our main settings are actually over here. So what I'm going to do is start with a base HTML page, and that is going to go inside of blog. It's going to be a new folder. So I'm going to click blog, I'm going to click folder and templates, and then in here I want to do a new file, base.html. All right, and in here we're going to go ahead and start adding in some of the code we're going to need for this build out. So I'm going to start with load static, and then we're going to create the HTML page structure. So we're going to have our doc type and HTML, and then just go ahead and build out some of the main parts here. So title, I'm going to do post list. Actually, just let that close by itself. We're going to have a couple of links. So I'm going to do link for now, and I'll come back. So this is going to be our Bootstrap CSS files that we're going to need for having a Bootstrap layout. And then we're going to have a link here. So the relationship here is style sheet. And what this is going to do is make use of this load static that we have at the top of the page. And that is going to be because we're going to have one style sheet of our own as well. And so I'm going to do static blog style.css. And I may need to comment this out just so the page can load, because that's what I want to do. I want to create a base, then create an index.html just so we can have some initial web page loading and we can view the site that way. All right, and then we're going to have, of course, we need to close, head tag, body, and then in the body we're going to do div class header, and we'll close this. We'll do another. I'm going to do an extra line here. This is going to be our content, and close that. We're going to do a footer as well. Close that. And then I'm going to close off everything else we have going on here. So body, HTML. All right, so that should be good for an initial structure. And what I can do now, we're going to add some blocks to each of these 3 sections here. That's going to pull from our, basically our child HTML pages. So we're going to have our first one, block header, and we're going to have an end block. All right, and we can copy this, and there's going to be a little bit of change because we're going to have different kinds of blocks. So here we're going to have block content, block footer. All right, that should handle those. And then what we're going to do is also get the CDNs for Bootstrap. So if I go back to our site and just open up another page here, go to Google, and let's see, Bootstrap CDN. And let's see, we're going to go to Get Bootstrap. Scroll down, here we are. So what we want out of this is the main.css and then the theme CSS. So let's see, we have theme right here, we have min right here, so we can grab these two and go back, and I'm just going to paste here. Let's see, I'll move this over a little, and that. Okay, so now we can save, and we can also add our index.html. So I'll click templates so I can add an index.html in there. And for this file, we're going to extend our, let's see, blog base.html and close that off as well. And then we can keep going down. We're going to create our header, content, and our footer sections. So we'll have block header, and we'll end. And what I'm going to do is we can copy these and use them again. So end block header. You'll notice that we're using descriptive blocks here just to make things a little bit easier to read and follow along with. Then we'll have footer. And let's see here. I'm going to do just the header part of this. Well, actually, we can probably just go ahead and do everything else because there's a few other things we have to do before these pages actually start rendering out. So might as well go ahead and build out the entire content of this page. And just some styling here to make things look nice. And close. All right, and then we'll come down here. We'll have div class link to blogs. So we're going to have the CSS, and you can see it some point pretty soon. We're going to have to go ahead and build that CSS because now we're basically getting dependent on it. And this is going to be a URL post list. So we'll see how exactly that comes into play. And we're going to do blogs. And close our div. All right, and then our footer down here is the last one. So we're going to have div class data coming, or actually date. All right, and we're going to do an HR width of, again, 1250, align left, size 4. So this is all just formatting right now. You can see a little bit of dynamic content is starting to come through into what we're building out. So we are going to make use of a date variable. And let's see here, we want to close out everything we have now, close our div, save. Okay, so that's 2 pages, a base and an index. We're getting we're getting closer to being able to render something on this website. So we're going to next start working on some of the back-end pieces that we need now that we have some of this more dynamic content. We have to think about also at some point fairly soon starting to build out our CSS, our custom CSS page as well. Now we're going to work on a few back-end changes so that we can tie in what we've done inside of our templates here and make them functional, because we have this dynamic content that's wanting to come through. One of the first things we're going to do is start adding in some of the URL patterns that we need. So I am going to follow the pattern that they already have down there for admin, and what I've got here is the R with the single quotes. This is basically telling Python it's going to be a raw string, don't do any escaping, because we're going to have a lot of regex in here. The first one we're going to do is our post match, and I'm going to do this with an $, and actually this is not going to be the first, it's going to be the second, but I'm going to keep going with this one, and then we'll go back to the first because we need to work our index page in. So this is going to come out of views, post, list, and we're going to have a name of post list, and I'll do a comma. All right, so we're going to have our first one, which is going to be our index. And let's see, I actually need to do caret here, and same here. That's going to be on the 6, shift to 6. All right, so for the first one, basically if there's nothing typed in, we're going to go ahead and match to index. Now we're going to have to add this into our views because we don't have any references to index or post list or really anything right now. So it will error out if we try to do anything. All right, and I'm going to copy this one because we're going to have 4 altogether of these. So down here we're going to do our second one, which is going to be called post detail, and change the name. All right, and now for this one, post detail is actually going to be the content of a post. And the way this is going to work, it gets a little bit more involved. I am going to leave the slash. I'm going to put parentheses, another slash, $. So there's something that we need to do in here, because if we go back to the website and go to the home page, all right, so here's our blogs. You can see here where it posts, so everything's listed. And if we click, now post is the first one that we have. So this page here with this right here, nothing really special. And if we go down, that's going to be this right here. So now we're working on this second one. And if I click a post, this changes the URL. So here we have a 1. That's what we're building in now. We're accommodating that pattern. So to make that happen, and you can see it can have more stuff after it, because when we continue moving forward, we can click comments. You can see here we still have that pattern post 1, but now there's things coming after it. And if we click post a comment, there's more. So the $sign is just saying, okay, whatever that is back there, but our initial pattern right here with post 1 is going to be kept intact. So we're accommodating for the changing numerics that we can have. And the way that's going to work is like this, $P, we're going to do PK, and we're going to match on what's called a class in regular expressions. And that's what this plus is making it do, matching this class. So 0 through 9 is fine. Now this right here is basically creating a group, and this is giving it a name. So that's all that's doing there, and that's going to match against the pattern that we just saw in the browser. So these others are going to have similar kinds of patterns. And so what I'm going to do for that is replace all these dollar signs and like that. So we're going to work on this post list now, and this is going to actually be called post comment. So just change these. Go ahead and change the last one. This is going to be called add comment. And paste here. All right, so let's go back to post comment. Need to go ahead and finish building out this URL. So we're not going to have a dollar sign after the parentheses. We're going to do a slash comment, which is what we saw. And now other things can come after comment, which is basically going to be add comment. And we're going to continue building off of that pattern for add comment. So we'll go comment, add comment, dollar sign. All right. And I think that handles these URL build outs. So what we need are some modifications to our views, because it's going to be looking for views.postlist, views.index. We don't have any of that right now. So going into views, you can see here completely empty. There's a number of things we're going to have to as well bring into this views. So we'll leave render. We're going to add a few things to it. Get object or 404 and redirect. So we can handle some of those scenarios and some more imports. So we have Django.http import http 404. So just handling again some more of these redirects and 404s. We'll do a models import post, and we don't have those built yet, so we will need to work on that. Of course, date time, import date time, and we want to do an import for our form, so we're going to do dot forms import comment form, because we're going to do form submissions. Okay, so our index. This is a familiar pattern here with passing this request in, and I'm going to wrap this inside of a try. So we'll have post equals post dot objects dot all. Now that's actually getting from the database. So there's going to be some work to do to make that happen. We'll have an except post dot does not exist, and I'm going to move this over so it's aligned with our try. Now this except right here is a specific kind of exception that we're looking for. So if that happens, now we're going to call some of these 404s that we've imported, some of these namespaces, and just go ahead and put out a friendly error that we're handling, so that way it doesn't give one of the more raw looking Django errors. And so return so we can render, and this render request is just the normal kind of render, and we'll have blog slash post list.html comma, and we're going to pass our post, which comes from post. All right, so that is index. Now we're going to do, let's see, we're going to leave this with index for now and save. Now what we're going to do is make a modification in our settings.py because we want to add our app as an installed app. And so down here, we're going to have an entry that's going to be called blog.apps.blog.config. Save that. Okay, so that will complete what we're doing now for our backend work. What we're going to do next is try to get the site up and running, work through some of the issues we may have. We just want to get our index page showing, which is going to be basing itself off of our base.html. So this is the page we're going to want to see some of this rendering out. We'll probably have to go in and do a little bit of commenting out of here, but we want to see a website going as we progress through this so that that way it's easier to debug issues, because if we try to do everything and then at the end check and see, okay, is the website running, it's going to be a lot more difficult to work through because now there's so much code. So we're going to kind of check ourselves as we progress. We haven't yet added any models to our website or our app, so there aren't any migrations for us to run. There's nothing in the database. What we want to do is just get the site up and running without the database yet, and then later on we'll bring in the database. So I am going to bring up our terminal so that way we can see what we have in regards to the website running or not. So I'm going to go ahead and start the web server. And actually I need to stop the other site, which I'm going to do now. Okay, so the other site is stopped and I'm going to run this one. Let's see what kind of errors we get. So we're going to work through these different kinds of errors, which will give you a better understanding of how to resolve these kinds of issues on your own as well. And then eventually the website will come up and render. So here's the first thing we have. This is pointing to our URLs page, which is going to be in our site here. So views index, and if we look at views index, we should have that right there. So let's look at the details and try to figure out what exactly is happening with this error. And normally the important part of the error is going to be down at the bottom. So here's where we started our command. Then Django goes through and tries to execute a number of files to get the website up and running. And at the bottom, there's going to be a little bit more detail about the issue it's running into, although here it doesn't really appear to be, so views is not defined. This is the error that it's giving us here. So going back to URLs, we can fix this issue by doing an import. So here are the two imports we have now. And to get access to views, we're going to do that particular import. So I'm going to add another line here and do from dot import views, save. All right, and then down here we have our command line, Control C, go ahead and stop. Although the web server didn't really kick off, I'm going to go ahead and stop the command because there is still a process running. So here you can see, even though I'm not running the website yet, we still have an issue. Cannot import name views. So this error right here isn't really giving us much feedback as to why we can't import views, but here's what's going on. So we have our URLs here. We're in the website section, so my website, and if I scroll up a little bit, this is all the blog application. Now the issue is that views is inside of the blog folder, and we don't have a views inside of the my website folder. So that's why we get this error, because there's no views to import. What we need to do is create a urls.py inside the blog folder and move our code into there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I'll click on templates and click for a new file and do urls py. And let's see, it put it in templates, and I actually want it out here in this root. So there it is. And I'm going to go to our other URLs. I am going to copy all of this and basically put this URLs file back like it was. Now I'll paste this here. Now I'll go back over here, take this, save this file. So it's basically back to the original file, and I'll paste this here and save. Now we need one other import. I'm going to go back to URLs. We want this one so that we can process our URLs. I'll save that. And then we need to also fix our structure here. So all this has to go inside of a structure. If we go back over here, we can see we have URL patterns. So I'm going to copy that. We'll have a closing bracket. So I will paste that here. Just put a line space. I'm going to remove this last comma and place a closing bracket here and save. All right, so I'm going to attempt to do another run on the server. And again, we're just going to work through the issues as they come up. So here we have, right, it's telling us we've not done our migrations, which we do know. We're just looking to get the website up and running at this point. So it looks like, at least from a compiler standpoint, we've gotten past issues. Now we're going to see what kind of runtime issues we may encounter as we go ahead and look at the website. So now the website is going to be our website and not the other website we were looking at. So this is looking good. It says the website is working, although we don't have our home page displaying at this point. So if I do a /index, do we get it? No, we don't. And let's see here. It's looking in the admin. So it looks like it's looking in the URLs that is inside of my website, which is this one here. That's where it's looking right now, it looks like. So this is the one it's looking in now. So what we want to do, because we are hitting the website whenever we just go to the domain name, which is basically what we have here. So we're inside of that My Website folder. We're not inside of the blog folder. We want to redirect to the blog folder, which is then going to pick up our template files and start displaying them. So we need another URL pattern here, and I'm going to do this, and we want to do an include, which is going to be blogs.urls, and save. And let's see, I need a comma here, save that. And let's see, name include is not defined. So I can fix that by doing an import for include up here. Let's see, save. See what we have down here, no module, blogs, URLs. And that is because it's named just blog. So I'm going to remove the S, save that. It's going to try to process again. Let's see, that is saved. It's still looking at that one. So I'm going to stop and restart this, let it run again, and try to do a process on that. Cannot import name post. And so now it's trying to pick up some of our models, which we don't actually want to do at this point, and that is likely coming out of here somewhere. So all of this right here is fine. This is just block content, but what it's trying to pick up over here is the issue. So I can comment out some of this, and we'll try to just go ahead and run what we have. Now date should be okay. We have that variable. Actually, we need to add a footer, so that will process. So I'll save that, and we'll stop the web server. Run again. Cannot import name post, and that is coming out of our views, it looks like, out of the blog app. So I'm going to close some of these files and we'll take a look. So yeah, this is the issue right now. Do this. Save. Let's see here. It's going to want that. So what we're going to do is comment out this line and give it a simpler line. Since we don't have a post object to send back. Save that. Let's see, it's wanting, can remove or comment out the try because we don't have anything in the try, so there's no reason to have it hanging around. Cannot import name post is still coming. Blog views, blog post list HTML, and actually this is post list down here, so I kind of got ahead of myself on that one. So this is going to be DEF post list request, and we don't have to worry about this one because nothing's going to be calling it. So everything here can get uncommented. and remove that. All right, so for the request, it should be simpler. We're going to do a date, and it's going to be a date time now, and we're going to do a format for time. So that's going to be kind of a tedious format here. Dash %m dash %d, but you can kind of make out there year, month, day, what exactly it's trying to do. Okay, so we need to return a render on this. It's going to be request, of course, the first one. All right, whatever the page is, and then any kind of variables we want to send back. So the page is our index.html. The variable is our date. So we're going to say date, which is going to be this object, date. All right. So it looks like it's still going to try to do something with, so these imports here for post and comment, we can comment that out. Probably we'll have to do something with forms, but we'll see shortly what happens there. So line 5, yes. So we don't have our comment form yet. Save that. Let's see here. No attribute post detail, URLs. So some of these URLs we'll have to go ahead and comment out as well. And actually, we can just go ahead and work on all of these because we don't have them yet. Save. All right. So we're back to a good compile. Let's see what we have at runtime. Do we have our home page now refreshing against the root? Let's see here. Template does not exist. Get template. Let's see here. We have our index. I'm going to go back into our URLs. Name index. That should be okay. All right, so go back and go into our templates. We have our base, and let's see here. Is there anything wrong in here? Blog, base, HTML. So we can see from where we ran the error down here. It's not liking blog.index.html. Looking at our folder structure, it's looking for a blog. So it's looking in templates, and the path we have here is it wants blog, and we don't have that. So we have just templates. So if we had a folder inside templates called blog, that should help resolve this particular issue. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and create this folder called blog. And I am going to then take our template files, which are just these two here, and move them. So we have index, we have base, save, and our server is still running. I'm going to go ahead and refresh the root. All right, let's see what we have going on here. Make sure everything else still is good. So our URLs and our settings, that's good. These URLs are good. And views. Okay. So post list. I think it is still trying to do something with this down here. Or it could be coming out of one of our HTML files even. So what I'm going to do is comment out this particular function. So I'll do 3 single quotes. Should comment out that entire line. And scroll down. I'm not seeing errors down here. Refresh. And I'm going to stop this and go ahead and, because I've done a folder change there, and restart. Let the whole thing refresh. Now refresh this page. Still not liking it. Reverse for post list with arguments. See, that looks like it is coming out of the index page, which it shouldn't be, but let's go and look. All right, so I am going to remove this completely and refresh. There we go, finally. So even though it was commented out with HTML comments, that's not really going to work for Django code. So we can add that back once we begin getting the rest of these pieces up and running. And for now, I'm going to leave that as is because that's the main block of content. So there's no way we're going to miss it. So we'll come back later on and start adding that in. So next what we're going to do is we need to start building out our models. We need to do some migrations to get code in the database. And then we can start linking to it in our HTML files and having it come out, and then start getting into the form submissions for our comments as well. We've got our website up and running. What we're going to do now is create an admin user, and then we're also going to create our models and push them into the database. So we're going to run some migrations to do that. I'm going to go out to terminal and we're going to create our user. I'm going to go out to the terminal inside of Visual Studio Code. And since we already have the web server running, I'm going to go ahead and stop that. And we are going to now create our admin. So it's going to be create super user. So you can see we're getting this error here because it doesn't find any kind of author table inside of our database. So basically it's kind of blank. And what I'm going to do is run the initial migration. So you'll notice if I go ahead and start the server, we get that information about no migrations have been run. So I'm going to go ahead and run those first. So these are just the kind of default migrations to build out your database. So I am going to do migrate. That runs. Now I'm going to try to create my user again, and there we go. So I'm going to do an admin user name. Just going to go ahead and do admin test.com for an email, and then open for a password. Remember, it needs to be, I think it's at least 6 characters. Okay, so we have an admin, and if I go to the website, I should be able to log on. So I'm going to run the server and go to our website. So this will be a /admin, and I'm going to do admin open log on. All right, so here we are. We have our table. So these are the ones that were created just now. If I click users, we have the one user. And I'm going to go back to the main site. So that's looking pretty good. Now we're going to go ahead and create our models. So going into the models file, and if you don't have this, you can go ahead and create it. This is inside of the blog folder. So if I close the blog folder, you can see that's where that's at. So the top of this is fine. Down here is where we're going to create our models. We're going to have a post model. We're going to have a comment model. And these will get translated into tables in the database. So I'm going to do models dot model, and in here I'm going to create title. This is actually going to be a column inside the post table. It's also going to be a property that we can access. So now I need to give this a type. So it's going to be a character field of max length equals 200. I'm going to create another one called text. This is going to be models text field, and that's all we need there. So I'm going to create another. So notice I'm creating classes for these, and each one translates into a table once I run my migrations. So we're always passing in this model so that we can basically have access to that context. We're going to have name, comment, and post ID for this one. So I'm going to do models, and we're going to have another char field. This is going to be a max length equals 50, and we're going to do comment. This is going to be similar to our text field above, so it's going to be models text field. So you get that back. All right. And we're going to have post ID, and we're going to do models. This is going to be an integer field. Start with a default of 0 and save. So what I want to do now is go ahead and stop the web server, and I'm going to do Python manage py make migrations. There we go. And now I'm going to bring this back and do migrate and migrate. All right, so going back to the web server, I'm going to go ahead and start that and go to our admin again. We're already logged on, so I'm going to go back to the main page here, refresh. May need to log out and back in. So admin, open. Not seeing anything yet. Okay, well, we know that our migrations went ahead and ran. So going back up here, apply, so that is all good. And we should be able to see those in action here pretty soon. Now what we're going to do is work on our HTML pages and our URLs so that we can then start accessing these. So we're going to first go into views, and we had to comment this out earlier because we didn't have these. So I'm going to save this, and you can see the web server is not complaining, so that's good. So what we can do now is continue building out these different methods inside of our views page. So the next one we're going to have, we got our post list. We're going to have post detail. We're going to pass in a request, basically a primary key. And we're going to do post equals get object R404. And that's coming off of the imports that we've done above. And we're going to have post pk equals pk. We'll have C number, basically comment number. This is going to be length, comment objects, filter. So this is going to be a search. So for this, we're going to do post underscore ID equals that primary key. And then we're going to return our render. So request, then we'll have blog comment.html, which we don't have yet, so we will certainly need to create that one. We're going to have comments as a key we can access in this HTML page called post detail. And when we access it, it's going to pull the value of comments out. And so here, we're going to send information back to this page. So we have our post. That's the key. The value is post. We're going to also send back C number, and the value of that is going to be C number. So that's post detail. And next what we're going to do is post comment. So again, request pk, and we're going to have, for post comment, we're going to have comments, and we're also going to do a PID. So for this, we're going to have comment objects. This is basically just getting access to that table, and then again, we're going to do our search. So post underscore ID equals pk, and we're going to have a p underscore ID equals pk. All right, so we render, and actually we want to return our render. A request, so the usual suspects here. We're going to have blog. This is going to be for the page comment HTML. So up here, I actually made a mistake on this one. This is not comment. This is post detail. All right, so back to our post comment. Put a comma here, and then what do we want to pass back? So we're going to pass back our comments and our post ID. So comments, which is comments, and then we have our p underscore ID, which is p underscore ID. All right, and save. So our web server is still liking that. I actually didn't want that to open there. And what we're going to do next is start on add comment. This is going to be a bit longer. So we're going to have our request, our PK, and we're going to do that one next. So for now, I'm just going to go ahead and comment that out. We'll have a little bit of work to do there to get that one up and running. We're going to now start back with our add comment. So I'm going to uncomment this and go ahead and start building out this one here. So this is going to be kind of long. We're going to start with a conditional. So we're going to say if request method equals post. We're going to work with our forms here. So comment form request post. All right, so someone did submit a comment. So that's what this is looking at right now. And we're going to say form is valid. We're going to now assign a number of properties. So we're going to have comment form.save commit, and we're going to have a false comment name. So we're going to have request post, and we're just accessing form fields right now is what this is doing. So we're going to have comment equals request post. This is just comment, and then we're going to have comment dot post ID equals PK, and we're going to do comment save. So this is all working within the form framework, and we'll return a redirect back to post detail. We're going to send our PK back, and this is actually in, we don't need single quotes for sending back this value. All right, so down here our server is rendering out, seems to like what we're doing. Now we're going to do an else. So handle a different condition. We're going to have comment form as an object. So in the case the form is not valid, basically nothing's happening there. So we're going to return a render. So that's going to be a request. What page is this? We'll go to add comment.html. We pass form and form save. All right, so everything is looking good here so far. And this down here has access to form because it's within scope right here. So that basically handles our views. What we want to do now is go to our URLs. So we have all of these different URLs, and let's go to the website, do a refresh there just to make sure it's still fine with everything going on. So again, we're just kind of checking ourselves along the way to make sure nothing is broken. We should be able to now remove these comments. We have all of these views set up, these view methods. We don't have their actual pages, which is okay because we're not going to access those pages. But we're able to refresh the page. Django is aware of these URLs, so it's looking to see, okay, do I have these somewhere? And it's able to look inside of our views and say, yes, I do have those. So that's fine. And going into our templates now, so we have our base, and we have our content, footer, and header. And if we go to their index, we can start adding in more content now that we've got a lot more built out. So one thing we want to put back in here is going to be inside of our blog content where we had our blogs link, and that was right here in this div. So we're going to go with an H2, and we're going to have an href, and here we're going to have some dynamic code. So I'm going to close this off. We're going to go blogs and just close that off and close off our H2. So inside of here we're going to do our percents because we are doing some evaluation. So we're going to have URL post list, and we should have access to that if we go into our views and to our index, or actually our post list here. So let's go back to our index. So here we are with our URL post list, which is going to get that value we just looked at, or should. So let's go to our website, refresh. We have blogs. Now we can't click and go anywhere, so we're going to go ahead and fill that in now. Go back here. This is going to be looking for basically that post that we just went to, so that slash post. And that should be our post list. If we go to our URLs, let's see here, you can see right there, that's getting redirected to that. So we're going to add that file, which is going to go inside of this folder. We're going to call it post_list.html. So that's going to match here. Actually, go back here. So that will match that there. It's going to be looking for a post list. If we go into our views, this is going to be looking for a post list.html. So that's this file here. This file is going to extend our base as well. So just like our index.html extended the base, we're going to do an extends blog base.html. And we're going to have block content. So block content, and we can close this down here. We're going to do in block content. All right, we're going to start a for loop. So we're going to have for post in post. So we have access. This is actually an S here. This is just a single item. We do have access to this object from our views, from what we did in our views. So I'm going to go ahead and close this with in for and do an indent. So here's going to be our HTML. We're going to have a div class post. We can close this div. We'll have an h1 and href. So here we're going to have some dynamic code, and I can go ahead and do %%. All right, and then we're going to have post title and close these. We'll do an HR, so we'll have a horizontal line down here. Just do 500, align left. Size equals 4. All right, for our code, we're going to have URL. It's going to be similar to what we saw earlier, post detail. And that's going to get our primary key for post PK save. So we should see this page now. Let's see if we refresh, click. So post is not defined, post with a P. Let's see here, line 15 out of views. And if I go to our views, right there. So if I look inside of models, we have a post, we have a comment. So that should start connecting up. And right here, we need to bring that in. We're going to want to start bringing our comment forms in. So it looks like this is still okay. We go back, refresh. All right, so there's nothing rendering out there because we don't have anything in our database, which makes sense. So what we can do is add our forms.py. And forms.py is going to go inside of this blog folder with these right here. So I am going to click to add a file. This is going to be called forms.py. And actually, I want this out here. All right, so we're going to have a couple of imports or froms, which is going to be from Django import forms. We're going to have from models, import comment. We're going to have a class. So we'll need to run another migration here. So we'll have forms.model form. And we'll have class meta. This is going to have two. So we'll have model comment, and we'll have fields equals name and comment. Save. So down here, we should be able to run some migrations. So I think we are going to do a make And let's try and migrate. Let's see, everything is looking good then. All right, so running the server, just to make sure the server is still working. All right, go back here, go to the home page and refresh. Go here, go to our admin. Everything is still looking good. Okay, so next what we want to do is actually start getting some data into the database, because we're going to need that to actually start putting together the layout of these comment pages and these post pages. We're going to now start pushing data into our database. And if we look over here, we have our migrations folder, and you can see we've got these migrations that have run. So we've got the migration script and then the compiled version, the PYC. And if we look in our migration, we have comment, we have post. Now, if we go to our admin site, you can see we only have groups and users, and it looks as though maybe the data is not there. One other step we need to do, so after we run these migrations, so we have access to those tables, is make a modification in our admin.py. So here what we're going to do is register our models. We're going to need to do another import so we have access to them. So we're going to have our models import post and comment. And so down here where we have this comment, we're going to do admin.site.register. I'm just going to copy it because we're going to have two. We'll have our post and our comment. And down here, you'll see this refresh after I save. And so the web server just refreshed. And if I go back, refresh here, now we can see our tables. So if I go into posts, we're not going to have anything there. And I can add from here by clicking add post, and I can add right here. So I'm just going to add some content because we're going to want to see this. So I'm just going to call this one first, do a capital F, first post. This is content from the first post. This is a second line. So let's say this is, but if I want to add more content, which is probably going to be a better test, I can go to lorem ipsum and just grab some text here. So all of this first paragraph is fine. And just paste that actually here. All right, so that looks good. And we should have a lot of content now. And what I'm going to do is just save. So we can see here we've got a post object. All right, so I'm going to go back to our website, click blogs. Now you can see we have first post, and we don't have a detail. So we're going to create a detail page for this. All right, so go back in here. This is where we're going to create our new page. So we have post list, which is just going to list out the various posts. Now we're going to work on post detail. For post detail, if we go into our views, we have that here, and that is going to look for this page here. And then if we look in our URLs, we have a link to that as well. So it's going to look for a number, and that's going to reroute to the post detail. All right, so we're set up there. Now we just need to build out our HTML. So we're going to have another extends, and we're going to extends on our blog base.html. And now we're going to have a block header, a content, and a footer. So very similar. In fact, what we can do, go to post list, or actually if we go to base, because it's going to have a lot of this, we can grab, let's say, well, we can grab this right here, and then we'll have to do some modifications. So back to our post detail. All right, and we're going to clear out this and clear out this. So the HTML pieces, and we're going to move this over. So I'm just doing a command left bracket. And then our HTML will go in between these. So we'll start with an H1, and we're going to have our post title. and we'll close. Then we'll do a horizontal line. So it's going to be a width of 500. We'll align left. And we'll have a size equals 4. And we'll close that. All right, and then we're just going to move on down. So we'll have here for our content, post text. And that's going to access that field. We need to do our variable here with 2 braces. So we'll have post text. Close that. And let's say here we're going to have a line break. And then we're going to have an area for comments. So class comments. And we have to build our style sheet out for this to start doing anything. And I'm going to close this div. Okay, so for the comments, and we're going to have a horizontal line as well, and this is going to be the same as this. Bring that here, indent. All right, so we're going to have an href to our comments, and we're going to do an h for comments, close that, and close the link. And we want a comment number, so we're going to use our C number here. Okay, so for a link, and we're going to have to put this inside of braces, we are going to do a URL, post, comment, and our PK is going to be post underscore ID, save. Now we have our footer to take care of. So down here, we're going to have class equals start page link 1. And we're going to create this style sheet after we finish this particular page. We're going to want to see this page render out, and then we're going to start with our styling. And then we'll have an href, which is going to have more dynamic code. So here, we're going to have a link back to home. And we can do this. Home page. Close. Whoops, we want to close everything off. Let's see here. Did I forget something? No. All right. And close our A. Let's see. I think that is good. Okay, so for this, we're just going to have URL goes back to index. That's it. Now, this should be okay. Let's see here. There's something going on down here. Doesn't like what we're doing. And I probably can see this better if we go to our website. So let's see, everything is saved at this point. Let's go to our website and refresh. So that's not, this right here should be the same. Template does not exist. We're going to check out our code now to take a look at where this may be coming from. So here's our post detail, and this right here is the page we're sending back. And if you'll notice, in our other pages we send back, we don't have a leading slash. So I'm going to remove this, save and go back now and refresh. Okay, so we get a different argument. This time it's referencing the PK is not found, so it doesn't know what to do with that. That's basically our primary key, which is being used in our pattern to create these pages. We don't have any comments, so if we go to our post detail, this right here, let's see, or actually not our post detail, but go to our URLs, and here's our pattern that we're using. This is where the primary key is getting dropped in from the page. And it's having problems with that because there's not really anything there. And we don't have that page either, our comment page. We'll go back over here. And you can see it's looking for post comment on this page that we have, which is our post detail. And going into post detail, we have post comment. So that's going to be a problem when we're trying to build this particular URL right here. So what we need to do is actually go ahead and build out the remaining HTML pages, which are going to be our post comment. We're going to have our add comment as well. And then that should take care of that part. And we already have everything in our views that we need. So the methods are there to send that information back. And here's our pages that we're going to be adding in our add right there, add comment. And inside of this views, there's one thing I want to do is to take this comment off, because eventually we're going to want that. So there's just less chance of some kind of debugging we'll have to do later on, because that comment is still there. All right, so next what we're going to get into is adding the remaining HTML pages, so the comment page and the add comment page, and that should help us along when we start trying to get into these post pages. We're going to add our comment and add comment pages now. That's going to help get the whole website going whenever we start clicking into these posts right now, because we're getting some errors about referencing pages that aren't actually there. So in our blog folder, I'm going to go ahead and add both pages. We're going to have comment.html. We're also going to have an add comment, and it's actually add comments. So starting on the comment page, we're going to do our normal extends. So we're going to have extends blog base.html and close off with our %. Then we're going to have a block header, content, and footer. And we can copy this. So let's see, I'm going to close a few of these others out and find one of these HTML pages that has the structure we want, which is this right here. And I'll just clear out the HTML. Let's see, we're here. So this right here, actually we're going to leave that because we're going to use it again. And I am just going to clear everything else out. So let's see, all of this and this, and save. Now what I'm going to do is copy this and go over here to our add comments and paste it. So we'll make some changes there as well, but now we've got the structure or pattern that we're going to be following. So for this comments page, I'm going to do paragraph, and actually maybe I just want to do an H2 instead of a paragraph with an H2. Close that off. Then we'll have this, which we're going to change to 1250, and the rest of it's going to be pretty good. Then we're going to have a div with a class reference for comments. We'll close our div, and we're going to have a for loop. So let's see, actually I'm going to leave that indented here, and we're going to do for comment in comments and close that. Then we're going to close our for loop. So we're going to have end for, and I'll move this over. So in here we're going to have a div with a class comment, just no S, and right above the end for loop we can close that out, and then we're going to have our comment and our name. So above our line here, our HR, we're going to do a name reference or a comment reference first. So we'll have the comment object comment, close that. We'll have as well in the comment object, we'll have name. Close that, save. All right, so now for our footer, because that takes care of the main content. Down here, we're going to do a div. We're going to have a class, start page link 3. And again, this is all going to come out of our custom style sheet once we go ahead and put that together. And we're going to have a link here. So this will be dynamic. It's going to go to home. And let's see here. Yeah, I guess I can go ahead with my H3 there. Probably would want to put that outside of the anchor tag. Let's see, close the H3, close anchor, and in here. So we're going to have our braces, our %. We're going to do URL back to index. and we're going to, let's see, close, save. All right, so I'm going to go out to the site, go ahead and run that, and we're going to take a look and see if we're able to click to a post page now. So refresh. Let's see if I can get back. Here we are, first post, and we're still having issues with post comment. Okay. Well, we're going to go ahead and build out our next page. That way, all of the HTML pages will be there, and we won't have to worry about those coming into play with these errors. And actually, for this one here, we don't need a header. We don't need a footer. What we are going to have is a form. So I'm going to have an H2 that's going to be new comment. Close that, like that. We're going to do a form, so it's going to be a method equals post. We're going to have a class of form or post form. Close that off. And we'll have a % CSRF token for the form. So we're going to look at that. We're going to look at that rendered out whenever we get everything going. And next we're going to have a field set. And we can close these. Let's see, do we want an HR at all? Don't think we do. Close this, close the form. And inside of our field set, we're going to have an H4. So we'll have a name, H4. We're going to have an input now. Let's be a type of text. And we'll do name equals name. And we'll have an ID of name for referencing this particular field. Let's see, we'll close. Yeah, so we'll do a BR and another BR. So now we're going to allow for entry of the comment. This type is going to be a text area. And we're going to do name equals comment class. We're going to have several of those. So we'll have save button, button default, send, and let's see. Actually, I'm getting this mixed up. So down here, we're going to have button. The type is going to be submit. Then we have these classes. Then we have our send, and this right here is button. All right, so we need to go ahead and clean up or wrap up on what we were doing up here with our text area. It's going to be an ID of comment, and we can close text area. We'll just do 2 BRs, save, and a link back to the home page below here. We'll have a div class equals start page link to and href. Right, this one's pretty easy. It's just a URL to the index. And so we'll have URL, and we're going to index here. Then we're going to close that and close our href. So we'll do another H3 here, home page, and close our H3, close our anchor, close our div, save. And let's see here. So we're still having problems with our post comment down here at the bottom. So what I'm going to do, we're going to go out to the website and add in some content, and then we're going to go ahead and look more if that error is still there. So we have our comments here. Going to add just one comment. First comment. This is just a comment test. The ID might as well do a 1, save. We have a comment to object now. Go back to our site, blogs, first post. It looks like it is accounting for the fact if it's 0, and that's okay, because this is related to something else. So we're going to next get into what exactly is going on with this error. We're going to go back into the code and let's see. So we have our post detail page here, our post list page here. They're both performing the same kind of loop. So the URL that we want is post detail, which is going to render out via our urls.py with an ID here. So primary key is going to equal this post.pk, and we are going to go to our detail now and look. Should be really the same kind of thing, just a change on the page here. And pk equals post underscore ID. So notice here we have this underscore. Over here we have this dot. So I believe that is going to cause problems. All right, so now we're going to go back and refresh, and there we go. And we have all of our lorem ipsum. Now there's not really any kind of formatting because we don't have our style sheet coming through, but let's look at our comment that we added. So this page is here, and we can see, or actually we can't see the comment right now. So blogs, first post, one comment. So let's go to our comments page, or just comment. And actually this right here, this add comments, should really just be comment. And if we look at our URLs here, we just have add comment, and if we go into our views, add comment, so there's no S on it. So I'm going to go ahead and rename that. Just right click, take off an S. Okay, so here something's going on in this page and we're not getting our content coming through. So probably in this loop right here. And let's go back out. So what we can see is our heading. Here's our horizontal line. And then we have our closing line down here. So the top line, the bottom line, but we're not getting any of this coming out. So let's see here. So you can see here we have comments, and our object is actually named comments instead of comment. Okay, so go back, refresh. There we are. So that looks pretty good. And go back here to the first post, comments, and we don't have an add comment link. All right, so let's see, we have the home page down here. All right, so our add comment is there. So we are missing a link to add another comment. And let's see here, I think that would come off of here, maybe the post detail. It's not there though. So if we kind of chase this logic, we have post comment. So this is on our post detail page, and I'm going to go back here. So this page here is the post detail page. We have comment 1, which is a link. So comments and then the number. So you can see here that's going to be that right there. So I believe that is okay. So if we click first comment, comments, and that is our comment page here. And this is likely where we're going to want to put some kind of link that we can add another comment. All right, so let's see here. We're going to, above our footer, somewhere up here in our content block, we're going to add a link that we can add a comment. So it's going to be outside of the for loop. Below this div is a good spot. So we're going to do div class. We're going to have post comment, and we'll close that off and add our link. So we're going to have href, and this is going to be URL. Let's see here, to add comment. And we'll have a pk p underscore ID and close. We'll do post a comment. Close out, and let's see here. We want to go ahead and put this in an H4 and H4. All right. are okay. Let's see, I'm going to go over here. I want to change this up a little bit. So I'm going to put these here and put this one out here. Put these H3s outside of here. Now everything should be more consistent and correct. All right, so I'm going to refresh this page and we should have our link. We do. Post the comment. So let's see, add comment, blogs, item, didn't return an HTTP object. It returned none instead. And that will more than likely be inside of our views. And let's see here. So views, this is what we're hitting right here. And I think on this request, we need a POST in all caps like we have here. So I'm going to go back, post a comment, not quite there. Okay, so back in our code, I do see a subtle issue here. We have two conditionals and our else and our return is actually blocked with this last conditional, which isn't going to work for the return, obviously. So the return needs to be out here. This conditional here, if post, then we're going to execute. I don't want this else to be on this conditional. I want it to be on this top level conditional here so that we get a new form. So if we're not posting, we're going to initialize our form. If we are posting, then we're going to go through here. So we are going to now do another refresh, and that solves that issue. Okay, so for name, I'm going to do Brett. This is a comment from Brett. Send 2 comments, and we can see we're getting them now. So go to homepage, go to blogs, first post, go to comments, and we can also post the comment. So everything now is functional. All we've got to do next is style everything up. So we're going to put our style sheet together next. We're going to build out our style sheet now. And this is what our website currently looks like. So what we're going to do is add some margin over here on the left, space things out a bit. Here's our post list page. We're going to do some formatting there. And then our post detail page, and also we have our comments. So there's a lot of places we're going to start adding in some styling. All right, so going back into Visual Studio Code, we go to our base page and scroll up, we can see we have a link to a style sheet that isn't currently there. And we're making use of the static because this is just a local style sheet. So what we want to do in our blog app folder is create actually another folder, not a file. So this is going to be static blog. And in here is where we're going to put our style sheet. And this is just going to be called style.css. All right, so to start off with, we're going to make use of H1s and H2s and H3s, and we're going to just give them a color. So we're going to have our H1A, our regular standalone H1, H2A. We'll have our regular standalone H2 and H3. And for their color, so we want to do dark, slate, gray. And that should work. All right, so next we're going to do some formatting on the body. And that's going to be padding top is 30px. We're going to do padding left is 15px. And if you remember, we have a lot of this styling already inside of our HTML pages. So if we go, for example, into the index page, let's see here. Here's a little bit of it. And our base page will have a lot. So our body, of course. And let's see. We should be able to now actually start seeing some of this formatting on the left. And we also have a lot of those H1s and H3s, and those are going to be post list. Let's see here. So here's an H1 with an anchor. And that should follow the formatting we have. So if we go out here, do a refresh, let's see here, we're not getting anything on our body. So let's take a look and see if we have any errors in the console. Go over here to the console, I'm not seeing anything. What I can do as a test as well is take this right here and just copy it into the address bar. So let's see if I can get an edit on this. May have to go back here and open the head section, open this, edit, and copy. So this will just let me know if my path is correct. All right, so that is. We're going to keep going and applying some more styling and see if we can start making a difference on any of these. All right, so back in our style sheet, and I'm going to close some of these out. Make it a little easier for us to see what's going on. Okay, so we have our body. We're going to go with our HR now, and we're going to do first a height of 2 pixels. We'll get our color here again, and we're going to do a background color as well. For this, we're going to do the same thing, so dark slate. Actually, we want gray. So I'm going to copy, replace these with gray. And we're going to do border, none. And then our footer. So we have the footer class. And we're going to do position, absolute. And we're going to check this after we get this footer built out. We're going to do bottom 0, left 0. We're going to have a width of 100 on that. And we're going to do a height of 80 pixels. We're going to have padding left of 15 pixels. All right, so if we go back, look at our home page. Here's our footer. Kind of thinking there's some caching issue maybe. If we go and look at our footer, so let's see here, we have base, and right here is that class, although it's not making a difference yet, but we're going to just continue and build out the style sheet, and then we'll take a look at why it may not be linking up. All right, so link to blogs is going to be a padding top of 350 pixels, and we're going to have our form, so we're going to do form width 300 px and save. Okay, so we know we're having some kind of issue with our site linking up. If I go out to Safari here, and you can see here we're having this problem. So the link is occurring in the base, and we've got our static loading here. This particular syntax looks okay, and right here in our relationship, if you look, we're actually missing an E. So these very subtle kinds of things, but there's not much other place it could happen. You have the link right here, which is the major component as to why maybe that's not working, the style sheet's not working. Then you've got your load static up here. So if we go to our site, refresh, now we get a big difference. The styling is coming through. We have our slate gray going on and the colors. Click on blogs. This right here is formatted nicely. Click our posts. That's looking very good. Comments, everything, right? Everything is looking really nice. So we've got our HRs extending out the length we want them to extend. Our form here. So everything's looking good. Everything's styled up. We've got our functionality in the website. So this project is pretty much done at this point. This whole site is now functional and it's formatted.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you like the video, do give us a thumbs up and share it. Also check out amazing discounts and offers on our premium courses in the description below.